So far during our work with integers, everything that you have seen has had a plus sign or a positive sign in the middle. Today we're going to look at what happens when you have a negative sign here. And what this does is it causes you to have a little bit of a change in your thinking. I've asked you to change how you read multiplication statements so that you say groups of. And I've asked you to change how you read division statements so that you say divided into groups of. But now what I'm going to ask you to do is think that whenever you see a subtraction sign like this, I want you to think about the opposite. And so when you see this, I want you to say the opposite of whatever the integer is that comes after. So instead of saying 3 minus 4, we would say 3 and the opposite of 4. So that would really mean 3 and the opposite of 4, which is negative 4. And then we can combine these just like what we have been doing. So I'm going to take 3 positives, 1, 2, 3 positives, and 4 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that gives us 3 zero pairs, and we're left with a negative 1. So then on my number line, let's say my 0 is here. I'm going to move to positive 3, and then I'm going to come up here and move negative 4. So then I wind up at that negative 1 spot. So very similar to what we're doing, but again, you need to change your vocabulary a little bit. So let's look at this next one. We have negative 5 and the opposite of negative 3. The opposite of negative 3 is a positive 3. So let's take our negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a positive 3, 1, 2, 3. We end up with 3 zero pairs, and we are left with negative 2. So on our number line, we're going to start at 0. We're going to move in the direction 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of a negative 5, and then come up above and move in a direction of a positive 3, 1, 2, 3. And we find ourselves at net negative 2. Same thing here with this one. We're going to have negative 3 and the opposite of negative 7, which is 7. So we'll start off with our negative 3's, and we'll move to our positive 7's. And that gives us 3 zero pairs, and we're left with 1, 2, 3, 4 positives. Number line, here's our 0, negative 3, come up and move positive 7. And we are at positive 4. Now, of course, like we've talked about, you're not always going to have number lines and models. You would not want to draw number lines and models for a problem this long. So we're going to simply use our scoreboard method. So we've got negative 48 and the opposite of negative 12, which is positive 12. So 48 points to the negative team, 12 points to the positive team. Negative team is going to win, and they have 36 more points than the positive team. So our answer would be negative 34. One more, and then you're off to work. You are going to show your work on a piece of paper today. We've got 150 and the opposite of negative 1,500 would be positive 1,500. I would think this would be one that you would not need the scoreboard for. When I look at this, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to combine these two together, and I get 1,650. They're both positive, so this is just like problems you've done all along. Today, you're going to turn in your work on your assignment on formative. If it helps you to write it the way that we read it, by all means do so. If you have any questions, let me know.